So I definitely look crazy right now. um, I can't see myself in the camera, so I don't really know what I look like, but I know it's crazy. Um, I don't know if I'm gonna post this, but I feel like I just kind of wanted to talk for myself or to myself, if anything, to kind of start processing these emotions, and because there's just a lot going through my mind, and talking things out, just putting it out there helps kind of make sense of it. And that's what therapy's good for too. Just to talk, because kind of when you say things, it just starts to make more sense, or if anything, it just gets it off your chest, right? um, so we turned pro yesterday, and it was first place pro, which is just even sweeter. um, and on one aspect, it's like it feels sweet getting that first place, because that's like feels the competitive side feels accomplished with getting that first place win. But it's like, other than that, there's so much more fulfilling things about this sport that are so much, it's not surface level, and like, I was talking to my friend Kelly this morning. Shout out Kelly for a little quick therapy session. That bodybuilding has felt like something that I couldn't be, like, it never really felt like something that I could be proud of. And because when people would say, like, oh, like, I don't know how you do it, like, like, I could never do that, or you should be proud because not a lot of people could do that. And it just, I don't know why a side of me felt like, well, it's just, I'm just working out and on a meal plan, and like I chose to do this, I chose to put myself through this. So it just didn't feel like, I don't know what to compare it to. And not necessarily that I even was trying ever to like, I feel like what comes to mind, but it's not a good comparison, is like going to school and getting a degree. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm I'm just, you know, choosing to put myself through this. And so it just, I don't know if that makes sense, but it just didn't feel like something to be proud of, or that I could really be proud of, but, and Kelly was telling me, it's just like, I mean, why I've done this bodybuilding, it's been 2 years. So, well, November 2021 to, it's going to be November to 2024, so 3 years. um so it's going to be almost 3 years that I've been bodybuilding in total. It hasn't even been 3 full years that I've been bodybuilding from my first prep right before that show. Because where are we? July, August, September, October? No, it'll literally be exactly 3 years from my first prep to my first show. Um, to this coming November will be 3 years in total that I've ever been bodybuilding. And let me make sure we're still recording. We're good. Like, it's brought out the just next level of discipline in me that I knew was always there. But I felt like in my life, I was always so disciplined. I mean, one, to work, like to show up to work, but to go to the gym, like that's where my discipline was. But I had lacked discipline maybe in other areas of my life, like with my eating. I've gone through, binge eating, restrictive eating, all those things. And like bodybuilding, my first prep, for once, it took my mind off of the binge eating, and it was like, wow, like I can do this. Like I mean, obviously it just was like, it was one spectrum to the next, but it just felt like, wow, like the if we're just talking about simply food discipline and like the food noise, like it stopped for that prep, and it was like, I can do this. Like I can, follow a meal plan, and like not cheat on my diet, and and I didn't even know my first show that I won, which was Iron Games 2021 here in Anaheim. I'm staying at the same hotel that I stayed at for my first show. And, um, um, shit, where was I going with that? Oh, I didn't even know that you won a sword. Like that day, I didn't know, like, and I got a sword tattoo on my neck while I was in prep, because like what else can you do on prep but collect coffee mugs and get tattoos, right? That's what I did. But I got a sword tattoo, and then when I won the show and won the overall, I got a sword. It was just, I don't know, that's just like a little like cute meeting, coincidence, whatever. But it was just the 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 journey of it all. And I didn't start bodybuilding to win a show. It wasn't like I'm gonna win this overall, I'm gonna turn pro. Like I didn't know those terms yet. Like I was just simply, before I was introduced to what bodybuilding was, I had heard of it before, but I didn't know what it meant. I was just working out with someone who was a bodybuilder, and I just remember them always prepping a ton of like chicken and having their meals. So I slowly was doing that. I was meal prepping, but like I literally remember I was like what, 21 years old or something, and like I was prepping, I was working out, like I was, in great shape, losing a lot of weight. My thing with food is that I'll eat really good all day, and then when it came to nighttime, just turn into a demon. Like pack of Oreos, just go stupid with it. So that's always been like my downfall. But I have to make sure we're still recording every few seconds because my space on my store on my phone. So yeah, like I would, and it's funny too, because when I lived with my grandparents for a little bit, like super good during the day, jar of peanut butter. I would steal my grandpa's jar of like all, which is funny because that's the peanut butter I use now. But it's like when I think of like old people peanut butter, like the natural, like the oils at the top, you gotta mix it. Like I would just eat like a whole jar of peanut butter, But I was doing better with my eating before bodybuilding. So then when I was introduced to bodybuilding, it was just like, okay, I don't really know what this means. I didn't even know what wellness like meant when the person was like, oh, like you should do wellness or let me whatever. And I was like, what does that mean? I literally remember that moment. Like I was like, what does that mean? I had just moved into my apartment, like hadn't even been 6 months in my first own apartment. Before that I was with my brother, then with my grandparents, with a roommate. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know what that means, but sure. And I was 21 years old at the time. I'm 26 years old. Oh my God. That's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, I was introduced to it, and then I slowly started like, that was my first time I kind of was on like a meal, like got sent a meal plan. I was like loosely following it, and then it was just like, boom, like I had met my first actual coach, and we started working together, and it was just like literally like hit the ground running night and day. It was just like a switch was flipped. And the thing with me and with coaches, and why it worked so well, that first prep, like that first prep was my most successful prep, and then this prep has been my most successful prep, and there's so many factors that go into it. But one, I think the coaching aspect in my first prep is why it works so well, given like my atmosphere wasn't the best at the time with my relationship at the time and whatever. Is that there wasn't a lot of communication that had to be like had between me and my coach. It was literally like they sent me a meal plan, and I was like, okay. I sent check-ins, they sent any updates, and I was like, okay, like I'm not someone, you don't need to hold my hand. You simply just need to tell me what to do, and I will follow it. I've been told I'm very militant in that way. Like, and I think that's what I personally hire a coach for. I'm not hiring you so I can like kiki with you, and I don't feel like a coach for me is not my person that I vent to, or that and maybe that's why I have a hard time when coaches ask me like, how do you feel? I'm like, trick question. Like I just want to like tell me how I look. How do I look? You know, like, and I know it is important though. Like, there's so many levels to it. Like, they need to know how you feel for, you know, energy wise, sleep wise, if they need to adjust anything. But it's just like, aside from like those important logistics, it's just like, you send me a plan, I follow it, and not much more communication needs to be had. So the point of that is that that's why that first prep was so successful, because it literally was just me, myself, and I. Like, I literally fell in love with the process. I found my routine. Like, it was this next level of discipline that I had in me, and that was just brought out of me, you know. And like, I was literally, my first show was 120 pounds on stage, and then I did nationals a few weeks after that, which shouldn't have done, but it was just an expensive experience nonetheless. And I was 118 pounds. Like, I was so shredded, and get more into that later and the rebound of that and all. But yeah, it simply was like how much of that discipline that I had in me that it brought out of me. And I become a better person in prep because I'm so on a routine, and you can't really stress out about a lot of things because you're so low energy. So it's just, and I definitely am like, my mind doesn't shut up. My mind is going 24/7. Okay. And like, that's why I can keep myself entertained and I never get bored because my mind is just going. But make sure we're recording again. But yeah, I just like remember sitting on my couch before show day and just realizing how in tune with my body and like my soul I became, you know. And like, that's when I started reading and writing more and listening to podcasts, and it just really, that mental strength, it was like, I can do this. Like, I can overcome my relationship with food, at least for the meantime, you know. And I think that's just what I need to look back on and just be proud of. It's like, I did that, and I literally, like, I didn't lean on anybody, not even my relationship at the time. Like, I wasn't, you know, crying to my coach. I wasn't doing anything. I just really pushed myself so hard, and it's so blurry and hard to remember those last few weeks of prep. And that's why I feel like the last few weeks of preps, it feels like such a new experience every time. And I like sometimes forget the process I did my makeup every time because I'm so low energy. I have to like remind myself every time, oh, this is how we did it. Oh, this is how we do it. Because you're just, it's really, and that's why they say be present. It's going to go by fast because, but it also at the same time, it's kind of hard to enjoy and be present when you're so low food. So it's such a crazy privileged experience to go through. And so I did that first show. It was amazing, but my support system at the time, my relationship at the time, like, I was not in a good headspace. I wasn't in a good environment. So after I did that first nationals and I got like 10th place, 118 pounds, I was shredded to the bone. Maybe could have turned pro in bikini. Like, I was so like tiny but shredded. I rebounded really bad and gained a ton of weight after that show. And it's just like, I had gone to my brother's, it was a winter time, so a girl was eating, you know, and just eating my emotions. I hadn't been in therapy at that time. The relationship was really toxic. And then so I came back home, gained a ton of weight, and then decided, I had literally taken maybe 2 months off or something off, 2 to 3 months off. There was no like growing phase. There was no nothing. And then I went into a prep for North Americans in September 2022. And that prep was different. They're all different, but it was different too because my coach at the time, like, they started becoming really close to me by their choice, not mine. They just kind of like broke that barrier between coach and client. So those lines kind of got blurry. Nothing weird. It just was, and it was a girl. So like, it just, like the lines just got blurry, and that's why I'll wrap that around to why this prep was so successful as well. But so anyways, it was a good prep though nonetheless, and I mean I got second place. Top two here turned pro in our other shows, but top two there didn't turn pro. And 15 minutes, okay. But so yeah, I traveled to to New York and then to Pittsburgh for that show. And at that time, I was finally getting out of that relationship that I was in. And but kind of like my coaching relationship, it was just things looking back that were said to me, was it's just like out of pocket, rude, and just things you shouldn't say. And, they were probably toxic for my health too. And as I ultimately, like, I stopped working with that person as well. But I got second place, and obviously, like I looked really good, and it just wasn't my time though. It wasn't my time to turn pro. Obviously, like I didn't turn pro, so it wasn't my time. But like, a higher power, whatever that is to you, it just was like, this is not your time. And I truly feel that because the relationship I was in, the coach I was working with, the environment around me, like it just, none of those things were right. And I wasn't also in that mindset to be a pro, or what it meant. I didn't know what it meant to be a pro yet. I wasn't there yet. I hadn't done the work, and it just wasn't time, and it wasn't meant to be. And I'm thankful that I didn't turn pro, because I was like out of both two relationships in my life that were the start in my bodybuilding. And so when I came back home from that show though, since I was alone, you have to know how you work best. And I think that's what falls into like having a successful rebound, is knowing how you work best. And I mean, a successful rebound is simply following your low food diet and then slowly increasing food, decreasing cardio, right? But I'm not perfect. I'm human. But I got home, I did my cardio, I had my little tricks to not gain weight so fast, but was still eating off plan. But ultimately, like, I didn't gain 20 pounds in 4 days. I gained 20 pounds in 2 months, which is still a lot, but I looked good. I honestly, like, I looked good, okay? But, ultimately it wasn't perfect, but I looked good and I felt good. And then I had gone into another relationship, and I hadn't gone to therapy. I was out of a coach. And then, honestly, last year's season is ultimately gonna cut. Last year, my season of bodybuilding, like, I don't even need to get into specifics. It was a growing period of life, okay? And like, I could have, shoulda, woulda. You look back, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Ultimately, it was a growing period of life for me, and I was in a relationship that helped me grow a ton, but it just wasn't the relationship for me, and it wasn't serving me anymore. And ultimately, my coaching relationship just wasn't a match. My intimate relationship wasn't a match. But ultimately, I started therapy in November. Are we in 2024? January, February, March. Yeah, I guess. So November of 2023 is when I started therapy. And when I got out of the relationship I was in, I was no longer working with the second coach. And finally, so I was out of my coaching relationship, out of that intimate relationship. I started therapy, and then I started working with my new coach. So there was like a whole year of just kind of chaos, but I knew things had to change, and they weren't going to change unless I made them change. And that was really starting therapy, getting out of that relationship, and I got a dog. I'd been wanting a dog for so long. literally before I met my little soulmate, I had gone to like the shelter, and oh my god, what the fuck? Let's make sure we're recording. Yeah, so I'd gone to the shelter, and I was literally about to like get a dog from the shelter, and then my client was like, "Hey, my friend, my neighbor's trying to rescue this puppy. It's not being taken care of. Like, do you want it?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" And it was like, I almost didn't get it because they didn't want to give it up. Like, they were like drug addicts or something, and they just wanted like money for drugs. And then I got the call, and I like woke up, like got out of bed, sprinted and met him, and he was just like this little puppy. Why am I crying? He was like this little dirty puppy, and I feel like a part of me is crying because I feel like I haven't been the best dog mom lately, and I feel like that's kind of hitting me. And I'm telling y'all, when I got this puppy, I literally did not sleep. Like, my maternal instincts were like, oh my god, like, it felt like I was raising a child. I was like, what can he eat? What can't he eat? Like, I literally went and potty trained him from the moment I brought him home. Like, he would be in bed with me. I'd wake up and sprint and take him outside. Like, I taught him everything, like sit, lay down, roll over. I spent every single day training this little puppy. And like, my relationship at the time would get so upset at me and be like, "You're taking so much time, like you're stressing so much about this dog." Like, it just felt like it was, and I think it came into my life at the time too, when I was getting out of that relationship, to like change my focus, and like help me get out of that relationship and start taking care of literally like a child in dog form. And yeah, raising a puppy was one of the hardest things. And it's a privilege that that's one of the hardest things I've done, okay? But so rewarding, and he's so well trained, and like everyone, he loves everybody, and every stranger too. They're like, "Oh my god, like he's so well trained." And I just feel like that's something I could be proud of, and it's like, I did that. Like, I fucking raised that dog, trained that dog. Anyways, so yeah, and I just feel bad because I've been so low energy, and like he hasn't been able to like go to the parks as much, and I'm like, damn, I feel like a bad dog mom. Anyways, holy shit, let me get a sip of water. Oh, that's an empty coffee cup. Make sure we're recording. Yeah, I don't want to do a lot of cuts in this video, so. Anyways, yeah, that dog is my life, and now I'm so excited to have energy because I can like take him to the beach again, and he can like live his little life, Why am I crying? And I feel like that's what I'll wrap this around to, is like the things that feel like most rewarding in life, And like, that's why bodybuilding, that's why I'm trying to process these emotions, because I know it is not the end all be all for me, and winning this pro card. Oh, we'll get back to that. But anyways, got out of that relationship, started therapy, working with a new coach, and it was like I was finally taking charge of my life, and like I wanted to break the cycles of these relationships I was getting into. I knew I was getting into these intimate relationships because of, my mom's relationship, and my mom's the hardest worker you'll ever meet, but too selfless, not selfish enough. And so I very much was falling into her pattern of just taking care of people, not being appreciated. And it's like, I've done so much work on my mental, and I've worked so hard to like be independent, like I've worked so many jobs and gone to school and just like working to survive, I've never ever asked anybody for money. Not once in my entire life have I ever asked anybody for money, you know? And it's just like, I'm like stubborn in that way where I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out on my own. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna figure it out. Like, if there's a will, there's a way, you know? Um, and like, I remember when I moved out early, um, and when I was moving out at like 17, looking on Craigslist, like trying to figure out where I was gonna live, you know? And, um, and it just like the I don't know, the sadness just got really hard. And like, I've called suicide hotlines before. I've, you know, like, I've had really dark thoughts in my head before. And I was just, I remember saying to myself, like, I think my stubbornness, because it's probably what's kept me alive, because it was like, I'm too stubborn to go. So it's something that's kept me alive and just kept me going through the dark times. And yes, I realize definitely other people's dark times and challenges are harder, but it's just like, when you are alone, it's really hard. Like, when it just is me, myself, and I, like, when it's just you in your head, it's really hard, because you're trying to like make sense of these thoughts that you can't. Like, you will not make sense of things until you start talking about it. But I never wanted to talk to people about things because I didn't want to get pity. I didn't want people to like feel sorry for me or feel like they need to pity me. And that's why it was really hard to, I never talked to family. Like, I didn't really have friends because I was just like, I graduated high school early and I was just working, and there was nobody, there wasn't a 17-year-old working 3 jobs and going to school. Like, people were still partying, living at home, and that's fine. Like, but I couldn't do that. So it was just like, I didn't have friends to like talk to or whatever. Um, anyways, I finally took charge of my life started therapy at 25 years old. And yeah, I'm 26, 25 years old. And I had gained a ton of weight after last year's season, so out of shape. But given like everything in my life was just chaos. But started therapy, I started working with my new coach. And why, again, that coaching relationship worked so well is because, again, I'm not getting a coach to like, I'm not hiring you to be my friend or to be somebody that I fall on. It's just, I need a plan that works for me. Just give me something that's going to work, because I know I have what it takes to it was like I knew I had what it took to be a pro bodybuilder within the season of bodybuilder. Being a bodybuilder year round is just a whole other monster, but I knew that I was getting there because of therapy was going to set me up so that I could be a bodybuilder year round. Like, within the season of bodybuilding, I knew I had what it took to be a pro bodybuilder, but you're not just a seasoned bodybuilder, it's a year round thing, right? So I knew with the challenges of post bodybuilding with my mom and with my relationships, like, I needed to be in a better mind space for post bodybuilding, because during prep I'm good, but it's the after. So that was a big reason I started therapy, because I just didn't want to keep repeating this cycle of getting sad, gaining weight, food, all of that. So this season of prep has been the best prep because of that next level mental work I started doing in therapy. And just like my support system around me and like my environment around me this time, it was so different and so much better. I'm so thankful, because like, winning this pro card has like brought my family together. And like, my first show and stuff, my family was here, but like, I didn't even like really hang out with them. Like, I took it for granted, you know, and like, I was ungrateful. Like, I just took it for granted that I had my family there. But now it was like, what's important? It's like, yeah, winning this pro card, that competitive side of me, that first place, it was such a relief to hear my name called for first place, okay? Like, or to not hear my name called for second place. Like, it just felt like, we did it. Like, fuck. Like, I literally, after I got on stage, like, fuck yes. Like, we did it. Like, we did it, you know? And it just was so relieving. It was just like, yes. Like, yes, yes, yes. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, we fucking did it. Like, we did it. Like, we did it. But it was just more of like a relieving feeling to be like, fucking did it, you know? But it's just made me realize, like, what's so important to me right now is, like, the fact that I have my family here. And, like, I'm someone, my social battery is like this, okay? And, like, if you saw me backstage and you tried to talk to me, my uncle told me this quote yesterday that really resonated with me. It was, I don't know, and it's terrible. I don't know the basketball player, the famous basketball player that said it, but, like, enemies on the court, best friends off the court, you know? It's like, when I'm there, like, I'm there. Bodybuilding, it's like, this is a job. This is a business venture. I'm here. I have one goal in mind. Like, I'm not going to be mean or rude, but, like, I'm not here to talk kiki backstage. Like, I'm here to win, you know? This isn't just an experience. I'm here to win. But after that, we can hang out. We can chit-chat. Like, we can be besties, you know? But it's like, I'm here to win. This is what I'm going to do. And, so anyways, Jesus. um, so yeah, anyways, it made me like, oh yeah, my social battery is so low in general. I don't have a lot of friends in general. Hanging out with people, it's like I'm very much introvert, extrovert in that way, because I can hold a conversation. I could literally pull a conversation out of thin air. I could not know you, but we could talk for hours. But it's so draining. And yesterday, it's like, and the whole prep thing is so mentally exhausting. And I was on such low food. Even my, like, low food, okay? I was not getting fed anything, which is fine because it worked. And I'd do it again. But it was just like, what mattered the most to me was hanging out with my family and spending time with my family, because my brother and his girlfriend flew in from Utah to see me. My uncle was here. Like, it just meant so much to me, and it was so important to me to spend time with them. And it just brought everyone close together, and it was like, that's all that mattered, regardless if I was whatever mood, you know. It's just, I'm like, with therapy, I'm realizing just what I value, what my morals are, like, what's important to me, you know. And it's like, yes, the pro card is so, it just, like, we did it, but it still feels like it's a big accomplishment, but it's just done so much more for my life in the mental side of it. Like, it's not, like, there's just so much more to life, you know. And don't get me wrong, obviously I love it, or I wouldn't be doing it for almost 3 years. But it's just like, it's just done so much for me mentally, and just brought out this next level discipline that I knew I had, you know. And growing up doing cheerleading, dance, ice skating competition, talent shows in living rooms, practicing routines with my mom, doing makeup and hair, and then also playing sports, soccer, track. Like, I've done everything. And bodybuilding, the stage is like all of that in one, you know. It's the beauty side of it, it's the sporty side of it. Like, I've been doing this my whole life. Like, my whole life obviously has led me to this moment. And it's just an amazing privilege to be able to compete. But it's just really making me realize, like, there is this whole nother side of me that has grown so much. And I'm just really realizing my values, what I value in life. Like, therapy has made me realize what are my values and what is important to me. And it's family, and it's having a support system, because I felt like I didn't have a support system for so long. And I want that support system. I want those close people that can depend on me, and I can depend on them.
and it's like I want a family, like I want kids, like I have such that maternal side of me, that such like feminine side of me, but it's like I've had to just be this hard ass independent woman for so long, you know, and it's obviously worked for me and it's done so much for me and so much growing, but there's just there's just so much more to me, you know. Um, and I'm just like, I'm so grateful. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that in my life, that I'm so grateful. And I want to be proud of this accomplishment, you know, because obviously within the bodybuilding community alone, it is a huge accomplishment. And people want to turn pro and trying really hard. But it was like, I finally, like, I knew this was my time because I've gone to therapy, I've done so much mental work, my support system is better. I got myself out of toxic relationships, out of toxic coaching relationships. You know, like I knew it was my time because of all the outside work I've done. It was like I put so much work into my mental. Obviously, physically, yes. Like physically, this was the most I've been pushed ever in a prep, okay? 2 hours of cardio, low food, 6 low days of food, like no refeeds, and it worked. And I would do it again that way if I had to, you know, and it worked for me. The coaching relationship, I'm so appreciative. It was just not chaotic. And I almost was like, where's the chaos? You know, sometimes when you're used to chaotic relationships, you like, some people thrive in that, and I was just like, where's the chaos in this? Like, this meal plan is so simple. Everything is so simple to follow. Like, I was waiting. I was like, where's the 10 different substitutions? Where's the voodoo? You know, like it was just almost too calm and too easy, you know, that I started to overthink it because it was so calm and so easy. So, let me get some water. Let me check the time. Okay. But yeah, and like also like my intimate relationships, like everything just started serving me. And it just finally felt like everything in my life was aligning. No more toxic relationships. Not every relationship is gonna be perfect, but it was like no more toxic relationships. I finally broke the cycle of that part of like my family trauma or whatever, of the toxic relationships. No more of that. The coaching relationship is stable. They're not toxic or got problems, you know, they're normal. Like I have my family, my dog, and it just feels like this next chapter of life, it's just like this card was like not closing a chapter, but it kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like I'm closing a chapter of like all the fucking chaos and all the growing that I've done. It was just like, all right, like this chapter's done, and whatever is I'm meant to do from here, it just feels like it's starting off on like a clean slate almost. Now that I'm thinking of that, like thinking of it in the present moment and now processing this, it feels like it's like, okay, here's your fresh start up to life. And you know, as long as I don't fall back into those unhealthy patterns of relationships and stuff, which I'm not, it feels like this is a clean slate for you. Truly. It really feels like that. It feels like you've closed this chapter of your life. It doesn't mean that bodybuilding's over, but I've truly too, like going through this journey, like I've had thoughts of like I want to like help girls like through the mental side of it, you know, and almost like a life coach or something, because it's so mental. And don't get me wrong, like I love the like scientific side of it and everything that like goes into it. in that way of like peaking and adjusting the meal plans and everything that goes into it. But it really is so mental, and going through this journey alone is so hard, and trying to make sense of the emotions and of prep is so hard, and I've been through it. And it's like, if I can help girls through it and like coach girls through it in that way, like there's nothing more that I would love to do. So I don't know how I would go about doing that. But I just, this next chapter of life just feels, it feels maternal. It feels like I want to just take care. I want to give back. Like, I know that I'm selfless in that way, because I already have thoughts, like random thoughts, like the girl that works in the bathroom at the bar that I work at. Like, I want to give her $100. Like, it's just like, I have these thoughts of like, I just want to start helping people, you know? I've been selfish for so long that I just want to start helping people. I don't know if it's a maternal side of me. It's just, I don't know. I want to give back, and I just want to help. Like, and yeah, if I could just help people through this journey, you know, and also I know how to do makeup and I know how to do hair. It's like, I feel like I can really, this next chapter for me, whatever is meant to happen. And it's just, I have a clean slate. It really feels like I have a clean slate to start this next chapter of life on a good note, you know, and it's been quite the journey. And I feel like there definitely is more to say. But I'm so thankful and grateful. My family's here. I have my family. I have a healthy, intimate relationships, and with friends and partners and coaches and whatever. It's just, everything's on a good note. And I'm going to keep it that way, because I'm going to keep going to therapy. I'm going to keep doing the work, because it's not, you don't just do it one day and then it's over. It's an everyday thing, okay? And I just appreciate the support so much. And this next chapter is going to be even sweeter. And it's just next level of life. So I feel like now it's time to just keep going, but on a clean slate. We're going to keep going with everything we've learned, everything we've been through, everything that life has taught us. But now I have a clean slate, but with all of that experience to just launch me into this next chapter of life. So thank you to everybody if you've watched this far. And I know I looked crazy. But, yep. Until next time.